The world is not in your books and maps. It's out there.
Many of us, when we're looking into prophecy in the end times, get our heads lost, so to speak, in all these different books and commentaries. But in Luke 24, it was on the road that the two travelers going from Jerusalem to Emmaus met Jesus. And Jesus himself explained to them from Moses and the prophets who he was. Jesus wants to explain himself to us, but we need to ask ourselves, have we let Jesus do this? Just between you, God, and his word. And if we let him minister to our hearts, we'll be set ablaze with his love, and we'll see it's all one story. Growing up, I remember reading through The Lord of the Rings and just being so captivated by it. What's so striking is that it's a fantastical universe, but it feels so real. Now, biblical prophecy, on the other hand, I think to many feels like just the opposite. It is real, but it feels fantastical. So the dilemma is, how could a story such as Lord of the Rings, which is so thoroughly based in biblical themes, feel so enrapturing, while the actual biblical story the themes come from feels so lifeless? So either there's something deeper to Lord of the Rings and similar stories than Jesus, or maybe there's just something we're missing. So instead of swallowing a bunch of Christian hype to try and spice up our dying faith, let's just stop pretending that the Bible is more exciting than our favorite movie or TV show and ask, what are we doing wrong? And when we approach Jesus from this perspective, it's like we hear his name for the very first time. So you ask yourself, who is this Jesus? Who is this Son of Man who is so zealous for Jerusalem? A skull-crushing, cloud-riding, human-like Savior who is presented before the Ancient of Days? It's a man who has eyes like a flame of fire, who remembers an ancient covenant struck with a man named Abraham. This has nothing to do with a bunch of complicated theological points put together like it's some kind of sci-fi novel, but it has everything to do with the person of Jesus. Revelation 19 says that the very spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus. That is to say that every single prophecy has to do with the story of the Son of God that was determined since before the foundation of the world. It's the story of a king who has been promised a bride and kingdoms, and all other stories are the shadow of this narrative. In Matthew 22, Jesus describes the kingdom of heaven as a king who made a wedding feast for his son. So then, the story is that since before man was even created, Jesus has been eagerly awaiting his inheritance and his bride, and the Father has been setting it up. This covenant of the kingdom began in Israel and is going to culminate in Zion on the throne of David. But the Apostle Paul said these things won't happen until the Antichrist and the time of great trouble first come. The Son of Man has an enemy who is trying to rob him of his inheritance and spoil his beautiful bride. But every heart that believes and loves and obeys is rescued and already set free. I mean, this is actually good news. This is substance for your soul to feast on and to sink your teeth into. For everyone to whom the gospel message has become contrived, don't forget what it's all about. This is a breath of beautiful fresh air, the desire of nations, the thing you've been itching to be satisfied with. And the peace you've yearned to be saturated with is found only in God the Father's Son. Marvel in his story. And only when we bask in the wonders of God's love for us can we be compelled to join this kingdom and do impossible things for the sake of his beautiful name.